So why is it when an astronomer looks at the stars, they actually get a distinct message that's different than an astrologer? Or why is it that when I go to the doctor, they don't give me a prescription for an herbal remedy? Well, part of that boils down to this idea of what is science and why is it a different way of knowing than other ways of knowing. And we find students have difficulty with this because they think of science as a discrete facts. So they might be about vectors or about the concept of evaporation or about blue-footed boobies. Who knows? But what we're hoping to do is to create a course that's the foundations of science and to offer it as a MOOC. So it'll both have a 4-credit option as well as hopefully be pushed to a wider audience. And our goal is to improve critical thinking, to allow for students to actually make a distinction between concepts of science and those of pseudoscience, and to also prepare individuals to reach and to engage with higher tier MOOCs. So we've actually applied for funding from the Gates Foundation, and they're looking for entry-level MOOCs that allow people, because when you look at the range of MOOCs, even though 2012 is the year of the MOOC, it's mostly advanced topics, so ones that are very difficult if you don't have a background in science to engage with. So one of the purposes of this course is to actually provide that scaffolding that will allow people to engage with those additional courses. And one of the exciting things about this course is that it's already taught face-to-face. It was designed by Matt Rowe and Marcus Gillespie from Sam Houston State University. And Matt will actually be a faculty member at MSU starting in the fall. But what they've been able to do is develop a course that was ranked #1 in the country for improving critical thinking. And that was in a study that was looking at over 100 institutions. So our goal is to translate that into an online environment. So we're hopefully taking things that already work and try to move that and make it available to everyone. So this is going to be kind of a review of what Christine and what Karen have mentioned. But when you look at the format of how we're planning on teaching this, we're looking to basically to have the learner interact with basically 3 different stages, right? So they're looking at significant learning interactions both with other peers, with the material, and then with the instructor. With materials, we're hoping to have them engage with materials that are maybe less like a lecture and more like a learning video. So in this case, we call these paper pusher productions, where just using whiteboards and paper cutouts, we're able to discuss the topic and actually construct it in front of the students, in hopefully somewhat of an amusing way, but also in a constructive way. In addition, we also want to have exercises that allow them to test these skills with regards to critical thinking. So we plan to use Captivate as a means for having students give responses. In this case, they're engaging around the concept of scientific jargon and how to think about concepts. So in this case, you ask them a question, and then we give them the chance to interact with responses that experts would have made in order to make distinctions in language. Jargon is very hard for students, and so we're hoping to have exercises that help to allow them to see these differences in language and why they're important. They then get to edit and revise. This is similar to Karen's presentation on conflict resolution. We're also hoping that we can use this with regards to visual literacy. So it's not just about jargon and written communication, but there's also a barrier about how do you interpret visuals in science. And so we're hoping to use this also to give students experience with that. When we look at the peer-to-peer interaction, this is one that we are still in development of and how we're thinking about it. But if you don't know, there are 2 different philosophies of MOOCs, 2 main ones. One is saying that as a community of learners, we will come together and generate our own material. And then the other one is, I am a sage on a stage and I'm going to give you information. And we're hopefully going to blend those 2 so that the community as a whole can actually choose the resources that they find invaluable and then rank those, discuss them in small groups, and then we'll keep them connected with social media. I'm going to skip through this instructor part, but in general, one of the things that we're looking to do is to capture two of the categories of MOOC learners are lurkers and certificate program people. And they may pop in and out, and what we're hoping to do is have things like strong narrative that would actually draw them back into the discussion. So that's some of the things that we're hoping to include. Assessment types, these are very familiar to all of you. Basically, a lot of self-generated, a lot of using rubrics in order to evaluate both by peers and instructors. And the last thing I wanted to mention is this idea of community. And I say this is one of the things that we're hoping to do is to open it up to both researchers and educators to get an experience with MOOCs. We're developing one and we have no experience in doing that. But we're hoping that other people who want to develop MOOCs can join us in discussions, monthly discussions about what are best pedagogical processes, as well as if you want to do research on them, maybe we can collect data to help other researchers on campus. And also to open this up to grad students to get them experience in teaching online. And we're going to offer mini grants to allow them to participate both pedagogically and with regards to research. So obviously this is not done solo. There's a bazillion people to thank, but of mention, I'd like to also mention my collaborators, Julie LeBark and Matt Rowe and Marcus Gillespie. Great, thank you.